when you look at the Christian faith, there are certain things that are just very clearly supernatural. I mean, you have the creation of the universe, you have Christ coming and living among us in the virgin birth, you have Christ being raised from the dead, that there's very clearly this supernatural component to Christianity. But my understanding is kind of the late 1800s, early 1900s, there's this anti-supernaturalism movement that's actually beginning to impinge on the church. And so how did the church respond to that?
Well, typically, the challenges to the church, to traditional Christianity in the late 1800s, sort of operated under the general theme of modernism.
Okay.
And modernism actually encompassed a couple of major components and then others as well. Primarily, though, it was all about the threat that was posed to traditional Christianity by theological liberalism. And then, of course, there was Darwinism. And
right.
so collectively, this was oftentimes referred to as the modernist threat.
So this modernist threat.
And
so how did the church respond to that? Or what went on in the early 1900s?
Well, in the early 1900s, of course, many Christian leaders were very concerned about theological liberalism and modernism. And around the year 1910, a very prominent pastor in America, A.C. Dixon, got together with another prominent pastor, R.A. Torrey, and they decided to commission the writing of a series of essays that would essentially outline the fundamental core doctrines of the traditional Christian faith.
So it's the fundamentals of the Christian faith,
that's
the document?
That's correct. This series of essays came to be known as the fundamentals.
Okay. And so, you talk about the people you're talking about there, it seemed to be associated with Biola Institute, the Bible Institute of Los Angeles.
Yes.
My understanding is those are very closely tied to the founding of that organization and,
yes.
and really kind of anchoring conservative Christianity.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And the fundamentals, even though, of course, by reference of the name itself, we would associate it with an extreme conservative form of Christianity, actually, this series of essays and the fundamentals in general were very influential on the formation of modern evangelicalism.
And I think that's an important point that, throughout history, the church, at least here in America, has been challenged by various ideas, and the fundamentals of the Christian faith, as they've come to be known, helped identify what are those essential Christian doctrines and really kind of defended the idea that God did supernaturally involve himself in creation. And so it's important that we have these fundamentals and realize just how important they are to defending the Christian faith against modernist or anti-supernatural ideas.